Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to Paisano's Music and Vinyl Talk. I am your host, Paisano. My co-host, Genevieve, is a little under the weather tonight and won't be joining us. I'm sure she'll be back next week. So, Paisano goes solo tonight. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. We talk about rock and roll here. If you've been watching for some time and not yet subscribed, please do. I am approaching 100 subscribers, and it would be awesome to reach 100 because I love subscribers. I love comments. Please keep them coming. Tonight we're going to talk about Jeff Beck and his rather new solo career after leaving the Yardbirds. He recruited an unknown singer by the name of Rod Stewart, believe it or not. And he had another person in his group that was to become very famous, Ronnie Wood, on bass guitar. In the mid-'70s, he became a rhythm guitarist for the Rolling Stones, another little-known group. And piano, he had Nicky Hopkins. It was a nice little group he had. And Jeff Beck, being the experimentator that he was with sound and effects, he made a couple of fine albums right off the bat. The first one called Truth, which was released in 1968. And the one we're going to review tonight is called Beck Ola, released in June of 1969. Now, whenever I think about Beck Ola and Truth, I automatically think of Led Zeppelin, and I'll explain why. Led Zeppelin 1 was released in January of 1969. Beck Ola came out in June of 1969. And the difference in the sound of this album, even though of those albums, even though Beck Ola had a top-notch engineer by the name of Martin Birch, who was a legend in producing, this album sounds like it was recorded underwater compared to Led Zeppelin 1. Jimmy Page was just such a top-notch producer. All his time spent as a session guitarist in London studios before he joined the Yardbirds. He learned a lot. He learned how to make records sound good, and that Led Zeppelin 1 broke new ground in sound and took people years and years and years to catch up. And I honestly consider Jimmy Page to be one of the top producers of all time in popular music, rock music. Without a doubt, without peer, just fantastic. Let's get back to Beck Ola. They decided for this album to include two Elvis Presley covers. They open up with All Shook Up, and closing out side one is Jailhouse Rock, given the Jeff Beck treatment. They this album saw a switch in lineup on drums. Mick Waller drummed on Truth, and Tony Newman took over drum duties. And on this, the short liner notes that I have here on Beck Ola, this was sold as a package, the first two albums, and I bought it as a package, knowing full well that it was the first two Jeff Beck solo albums. But the liner notes that are included here on Beck Ola, it says, "Today, with all the hard competition in the music business, it's almost impossible to come up with anything totally original, so we haven't. However, at the time this album was made, the accent was on heavy music, so sit back and listen and try to decide if you can find a small place in your head for it." Now, compared to Led Zeppelin and groups like Iron Butterfly or Vanilla Fudge, Black Sabbath wasn't out yet. There'd be another year before they came around. But you know, it's hard to consider this heavy music with especially with the piano in there. Piano is not really a hard rock instrument. And there are some heavy riffs on here that could have been a lot heavier if they were just, you know, created with heavily distorted guitars, you know. But Led Zeppelin 1 was significantly heavier than this. And Iron Butterfly at their heaviest was heavier. Blue Cheer, definitely heavier. Sir Lord Baltimore, another little-known early heavy metal group, definitely heavier. But Beck is a guitarist without much competition. Fantastic guitarist, one of my favorites. Let's go over the track listing. We start off with, like I said, Elvis Presley's All Shook Up, Spanish Boots, Girl from the Mill Valley. Side 1, like I said, closes with Jailhouse Rock. Side 2 opens with Plinth, Water Down the Drain, The Hangman's Knee, and Rice Pudding. Very short album, just comes in at around a half hour. I was able to listen to it. It only took about half the ride to work. But it was an enjoyable listen. It had been forever since I listened to it from start to finish. And I look forward to listening to Truth in its entirety when it comes up, when I draw it out of the hat. Let's take a look at the vinyl. It's obviously a reissue. I need to get a sleeve for it. It's sleeveless in here, just hanging out. But this came out on Epic. I don't think it came out on Epic originally. I may be wrong. Well, your classic Epic labels, you know, nothing special. All right. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please watch. Please tune in Monday night. We're going to draw the album of the week. Woohoo! The first album draw of September 2024. Coming up a week from tonight. All right. Once again, thank you for tuning in. And good night, YouTube.